All right, let's talk about expanding your capacity. I'm going to tell you exactly what I mean by that in a moment. So this month, so it's June, this month inside Be the First, that's the career progression coaching program for Black lawyers who are ready to progress to the next level. This is where you're setting your sights. If this is you want to be inside Be the First. So to give you a glimpse of what we work on in Be the First, and also to provide, I wanted to do this episode for my clients inside Be the First on a topic which we have touched on. We touched on it this week and we will be coming back to next week. But what I wanted to do is use the podcast to add another layer of learning on top of the coaching that we're doing live in the session. Add this as a layer of learning for you. And if you're new to me, if you haven't joined Be the First and you are that mid to senior level Black lawyer, this is the kind of value, this is the kind of thing that you will experience when you join. So not only the weekly coaching where we all get in a room and I coach you, I teach you strategy, I teach you tools and skills, and I coach you on what comes up, the challenges you face, how you implement what I teach you, but also I layer on extra teachings, extra learnings, such as I'm doing in this podcast, a deeper dive into a topic that has come up in one of the sessions, a deeper dive into something which you've told me you are struggling with. Okay, so that gives you a context for this week's episode. Now, if you're coming to this completely fresh and you haven't come across the idea of expanding your capacity, how you know this is for you and it's going to be super helpful for you is if you are someone who feels that there aren't enough hours in the day. Pretty sure that covers most of you, right? I certainly have had my moments in the past of thinking there aren't enough hours. I wish there were more hours in the day. So if you're someone who thinks or feels, or your experience of work and everything you have to do is there's not enough hours in the day. If you are someone who has the experience of your time being, or it feels like your time is hijacked, right, by the unpredictable or the uncontrollable. That could be anything. It could be personal, it could be professional, a new deal coming in out of the blue, something happening at home or with a relative or an event, something coming up, and it feels uncontrollable, it feels unpredictable. And what happens is, or your experience is, your time gets hijacked. You had this great plan to get certain things done, and then your time gets hijacked and it completely ruins the plan, or it throws you off track. I have been thinking this week a little bit about, and again, we were discussing this inside Be the First, what are the things that aren't working for you right now with your time management? So we're spending the whole of June looking at time management and me teaching a concept called time control. And as part of me teaching that, it also involves looking at, okay, what are you already doing that is working well? Like, how are you managing your time effectively? But also, what are you doing? What are the habits that you are repeating that aren't working well for you? Like, what's creating a time issue for you in your life or in your work? And for me, I was sharing this week how my second son Noah is home from university. It's so wonderful to have him home. My eldest son currently lives at home. He commutes into London for work. And then my two younger sons are living at home, of course, and they're back and forth from school every day. What that means is I have 4 boys in the house. And what's wonderful is these boys of mine, they regularly will come and want to talk, and they'll want to share things, and they want to open up. Now, I don't know if you have boys, I don't know if you have teenage or older boys, but that doesn't happen every single day. It doesn't happen the way it does when they're really, really young and they just tell you everything that's on their mind. So a son of mine coming into my office and saying, "Mum, have you got 5 minutes? Can I chat about something?" For me, I like the thought about myself. I have the self-concept that I am someone who, if my boys want to chat, I will always make time to hear them. I will always make time to listen, and I'll always find a way to get my work done anyway, but like building in the time that they need. It's one of those things. I'll always be there for my boys. What that has meant recently is that they've been throwing me quite off track, and there's been a lot coming up in terms of their school commitments and different changes in their schedules that has meant it's like really pushed my work to the back end of the day, and I've been working really late nights to accommodate, right, the fact that all the boys are home and that they intermittently want to find 5 minutes to chat. All of which is to give you an example of something that you may be doing right now, or a habit even that you've had for a long time that is not working. So I realized that actually my blanket policy of like, come in and chat whenever you need me, I'll be here, that is not working, because it's meaning that I'm having to be working until midnight every night. And I'm trying to do less of that. I'm trying not to be working until midnight every night. Yeah, I get up at 5:20 in the morning. It doesn't work. It's not serving me. So there you have it as an example of, for me, even though my time control is very developed, I'm very well practiced and my time management is good, there are still habits that I either have introduced or I'm holding on to that aren't working for me. And I want to just invite you, now that I've shared that example, to think about what that might be for you. So bringing you back to this episode then, bringing you back to expanding your capacity. I've told you that if you are someone who feels there's not enough hours in the day, then this is for you. If you're someone who feels your time is hijacked by the unpredictable or the uncontrollable, I gave you the example of my kids, but of course they are quite predictable and controllable, maybe not, but I can influence them. So it sort of fits into that category. This is also for you if you are exactly the lawyer that I talked about at the beginning of this, so mid to senior level, you want to progress to partnership or to the next level, whatever that might be for you. But even if you're more junior, wherever you are on your career progression journey, if you want to progress and one of your thoughts is, I don't have time, and it might not be, I don't have time to progress, but it might well be, and listen out for this because they're sneaky thoughts, it might be a sneaky thought that you know you need to be more visible, for example, you need to be building relationships, but a networking opportunity comes up and you say, oh, I just don't have time for that, right? So you often are using the excuse of having not enough time as a reason why you're not doing the thing you need to do to progress. So if this is you, you're going to find this so useful as well. And then finally, for those of you who may not be thinking about progression as such in terms of a promotion, but what you do want is to progress to a level of being able to do what you do your day job, meet your commitments, right? Rise to the challenge of working in this industry, especially as a Black lawyer. You want to do that with more ease. And one of the things you're struggling with, for example, is you're finding it really too uncomfortable. You're constantly anxious or afraid, or it could be just feel like you've got too much to do and you don't have the energy to do it. So one of my clients this week was talking about having her, and I'll talk a little bit about her example as well because it's going to be useful for so many of you. And when she listens to this, you're going to find this very, very useful. You know who you are. But one of my clients then was talking about how the fact that she has all of these great plans, best laid plans, and then something happens and she finds, she doesn't have the energy to see them through for various reasons, right? So if this is you, again, you're going to find this really useful. You're in exactly the right place. Okay, so here's what I want to offer. Wherever you are, whichever of those examples apply to you or whatever might be similar, the solution I want to offer you today is to expand your capacity. Let's talk about what I mean by that. I'm going to give it the simplest meaning and then we can get into the detail a bit later. And for sure, if it doesn't cover a scenario that you are experiencing right now, then write into me, send me an email. I'd love to hear from you, right? Let me know your feedback on these episodes and these teachings that I am sharing with you on a regular basis. So what do we mean by expanding your capacity? I've written simply, it's being capable of doing, thinking, and feeling at a higher level. Okay? And actually, now I'm sort of saying that out loud for you on the podcast or in this video, what I realize it's not so much actually about the capability, it's about the capacity. And that capacity, the difference for me is that your capability is there whether you're aware of it or not. Your capacity is it's actually your own perception of your own capability. Let me think if I can explain that in another way to make it even clearer. You are, and I will go on to talk about, so capable. You're capable of anything you set your mind to. I believe very strongly that is true. If you are a Black lawyer, if you are coming into this industry, if you are still in this industry, having been in it a long time, and particularly if you're working in an environment where there aren't many people who look like you, where you may have been exposed to racism, to microaggressions, where you have the experience of not being included, where you look up above you and you don't see people like you, where you've had to battle against the odds to get where you are, overcome significant challenges, whether professional or personal, you are capable of anything you set your mind to. Okay, and one of the things I'm going to be offering you on repeat, and what I do and teach you and show you inside my other coaching program, Confident Black Lawyers, so that's for you whatever level you are at inside not inside Be the First, whatever level you are at in this industry. So from the very most junior level, if you're a paralegal, even if you're a student waiting to get that training contract, or you're just qualifying, whatever level you're at, and all the way up to partnership, if confidence is something that you are lacking, if imposter syndrome is holding you back, or any of the self-doubt, the self-sabotage, then the Confident Black Lawyers that's the program I created for you. So what I talk about and what you learn in this program in Confident Black Lawyers is you learn to connect to your capability. Connect to the version of you that's capable of anything you set your mind to. So this is something I talk to a lot. I want to bring you back to again and again, so that you start to remember that. So you start to feel connected to that capability, so that that becomes how you think about yourself, how you approach your work, how you show up to challenges, and how you make decisions about what you go for and the goals you set for yourself and what you want for your life and career. This is a core principle philosophy that I teach you. So you'll hear me talk about it a lot. So that relates to capability, and your capability is there. It is infinite. When we talk about capacity, actually, particularly in this context and expanding your capacity, I'm actually talking about what right now you feel is the maximum amount of time and energy, both physical and emotional, bandwidth, the maximum amount that you feel right now is possible for you. Yeah. So for example, the maximum number of deals that you feel you can be working on at one time, or the maximum number of networking events you think you can attend in a week. That is your capacity. And I guess we talk about, and you talk about this a lot just within your day job, right? So you're often asked, like, what's your capacity? You often have your capacity checked or measured. So I know that's often done with percentages. Are you at full capacity, or are you about 80%, indicating that you still have room, right, to take on more work, to take on another deal. So I know you're familiar with the word capacity, but I wanted to put it alongside the word capability so you can see the difference. And what I'm going to be showing you in this episode and in this video as well is that how those two are connected, how you can use your infinite capability, your ability, the fact that you're capable of anything you set your mind to, how you can use that to increase your capacity. So increase what feels like the maximum amount you can do or feel or think at the moment, to increase that so that you are capable of more. You have the capacity to do or be more. So I've gone into quite a lot of detail there. Hopefully that is really clear, and for sure it's going to become clearer and clearer as I provide you with the more detail around kind of why this is important and what the value of expanding your capacity is going to, what the value of it is and what it's going to mean for you when you implement the process I'm going to teach you in this episode. So I've written here an example to share with you, a simple analogy. As you know, I love, if you follow me that is, I love a sporting metaphor. I work out regularly. I'm sort of hesitating as I say that because I'm very consistent on a Monday with my trainer, Holly. And if you follow me on social media, I'll often post about that. I'm less consistent in the week, but one of the things I am working on is expanding my capacity to exercise, to fit exercise in during the week. Right, but this is a really also a really useful analogy for you. Think about going to the gym. When you lift weights, right, if you can currently, so me, for example, I can shoulder press, push press, right, so I can hold two dumbbells in my hands and push them above my shoulders My capacity right now is 10 kilos, right? Which is not massively strong. It's not massively weak, but it's not massively strong because I've had shoulder injuries over the last few years. My capacity is 10 kilos. But what I'm doing is I'm expanding my capacity. I'm working on being able to push heavier weights in a shoulder press. And in order to do that, right, I'm going to be practicing pushing 12 kilo weights. So me in the gym wanting to go from my current limit, right, which is 10 kilos to 12 kilos, I'm going to have to expand my capacity to push weights above my head. In other words, increase my strength. Yeah, so another way of saying expand my capacity in the context of going to the gym is like, I just want to get stronger. So this is exactly the same for you. And I want you to think about what it would mean for you right now if you could expand your capacity in certain areas. And to help you think about how you might apply that literally today, think about where you hit your limit and what feels like for you either a shortcoming or less, like a limit that's below what you want to be capable of, or where you feel that your limit right now is below what you are expected to be capable of. For example, let's say you're expected to take on more deals than you feel you have the capacity for, or you're expected to get more done in less time than you feel you have the capacity for. So think about how it's coming up for you right now in your day job, at the office, literally today or this week. And the more you can really apply what I teach you, the examples I give you, the process I'm going to show you to a very specific scenario that you are in right now, then the more useful this work is going to be, the more effective what I teach is going to be for you, and the quicker you're going to get results, just even by listening to me on the podcast or watching me on the video or reading one of my posts. I want you to really develop consciously the habit of doing that as you listen, like not just consuming what I'm teaching you, but implementing, thinking, how does that work? How does that apply for me right now where I am? How is that relevant? How can I use what Caroline's teaching me to improve or to progress a specific task or challenge right now? Yeah, we want to be looking at getting you implementing this stuff and getting results. Okay, so let's talk about the reasons why you would want to expand your capacity. And I'm going to give you 4. The first reason is you want to progress. You want to progress. And you know that more is going to be required of you when you do progress. So let's take the example then of you being a mid to senior level black lawyer and you want to progress to partnership. So first of all, you're exactly the right person, the right fit for Be the First. So make sure you reach out to me and listen out also for the next enrollment, which will be coming up in a few weeks' time. Okay, so make sure you listen out for that. So if you are mid to senior level black lawyer and you want to progress, you will be aware that to go from senior associate or counsel, depending on where you are, to partner is going to require more of you. It's going to require more of you to get there. So the actual work you need to do to progress, the increasing your visibility, the building the relationships, becoming known, and the various other things. I teach you all of this inside Be the First. So that's going to require more of you on top of your day job. But also when you get to that next level, when you become a partner, like more is going to be required of you. You're going to be responsible for more deals, more responsibility. You will only ever have the same number of hours in the day, but you will actually have more to do, more people who need you, more clients who look to you, relying on you. Yeah, greater expectations in terms of what you bring to the business of your law firm or to the organization. Okay? So scenario or reason number 1, why you may want to expand your capacity is so that you progress. You want to progress to the next level. You know it will require, you need more capacity in order to do that progression work, and you're going to need more capacity to be a partner. That's reason number 1 or scenario number 1, in which is your motivation for expanding your capacity. Reason number 2 is, and this is something I'm going to offer you. You may feel it, you may not feel it. If you don't feel it, I'm going to offer it to you. You are way underestimating what you are capable of. Now, I can say this with confidence, first of all, because I've spoken to and coached so many of you, Secondly, because research does show that we typically underestimate what we are capable of. So when we look at goal setting, there's so much research now about actually the goals you set for yourself are far lower than that which you are capable of achieving. We tend to, I don't know if it's an undervaluing our, like part of it is a perception of what can be created over time, but a lot of it is also underestimating your own capability. And so a really important reason to expand your capacity is because right now you think you're at your limit and you're not. I remember doing this as part of my coaching, a coaching mastermind that I have been involved in, been part of rather, in the US for 3 years now. I remember my coach doing this introductory session where she talked a little bit about capacity, right? And what she said was, which I found so interesting, useful, and might be useful for you here, especially in this context of underestimating what your capacity is and what you're capable of. And she said, you know, when you feel like you're at a 10 out of 10, and that could be a 10 out of 10 in terms of I'm at the max, or it could, as in the max I can do, I couldn't possibly do any more. Or when you feel like you're at a 10 out of 10 in terms of achievement, like, wow, I've just maybe been promoted, or I've just had a form of recognition, maybe I've been nominated for an award, and that feels like a 10 out of 10. It feels like the maximum, the best achievement ever. And I remember my coach saying, what if what you think is a 10 is actually a 2? And I thought, I didn't really understand that at first, and I thought about it, and then she said, yeah, like, what if what you think is your limit is actually only your 2 out of 10, and you still have all of that capacity in you to go further or to achieve more, right? To be successful, to create or to do more or to think bigger. And I loved that. So what I want to offer really to you is like where you see yourself in terms of what you're capable of in terms of what capacity you have, what more you could do, or what more you could feel or think about yourself as a lawyer in this industry and what you're capable of, right? What if what you think is a 10 is actually a 2 and you have all of that room to grow? So that's what I want to offer you as a really compelling reason to do this work of expanding your capacity, because you are capable of so much more than you realize. You have the capacity for more. You have the capacity to grow. Such a great reason to do this work. Okay. I've also written actually in my notes, and this is an interesting one to make it really specific to how you might know, right, that you've got more in you. Often when we sit down to do a task or to complete a task or to do something that we've said we're going to do or know we need to do, the thoughts come up, right? Thoughts like, I'm too tired. It's been a long day. Oh, this is too hard. What if I get it wrong? This came up actually in Be the First as well this week. One of my clients who was talking about, what is really sabotaging her time management at the moment and stopping her from being as efficient and effective as she can be, is she has the fear of like the consequences if she gets it wrong. And that keeps her like sort of spinning like in her own head and overthinking. And as the result, she sort of procrastinates the work. And that massively delays her getting started, which massively impacts how much time she spends on a task. So she has all of this capability to get more done in less time, but actually she's caught in her own head and she's holding herself back with these thoughts and her fears about the consequences of getting something wrong. And one of the things that happens then is the thoughts you tell yourself in the moment. You tell yourself, I can't do it. Or you tell yourself, I don't know the answer. Or you tell yourself, I don't have enough energy left. I'm too tired. It's been too hard a day. This is you putting a false limit, an artificial limit on your capacity, on your capability. Okay, so one of the reasons, again, with that second reason of you underestimating what you're capable of, one of the ways that you know you do that is when you say, oh, but I'm too tired. Oh, but it's been a hard day. I know this because I do this sometimes myself. Oh, I haven't got the bandwidth. I've dealt with too much hard stuff today, right? That is just you imposing an artificial limit and you underestimating what you're capable of. So that's reason number 2. You want to stop underestimating yourself. Reason number 3 for expanding your capacity is so that you can grow, so that you can go beyond your comfort zone. Now, inevitably, going beyond your comfort zone, growing, involves experiencing discomfort. And right now, we all have a certain amount of discomfort that we're willing to tolerate, that we can put up with. For some reason, I don't know why I've gone to this. My brain offers me the most bizarre examples sometimes. But for example, I don't love flossing, and I try to do it as regularly as I can. And sometimes I'm really terrible at it, and sometimes I'm quite good at it. But either way, it's always uncomfortable. I don't feel like doing it. I don't like doing it. But I'm willing to tolerate the discomfort and just get it done. So that's an example of a level of discomfort I'm willing to tolerate. But as long as I only ever tolerate discomfort at that level, I'm not going to grow. And I want to offer the same as for you. You have a level of discomfort that you're willing to tolerate. And then there's a point at which something will be required of you that becomes even more uncomfortable. It basically brings the discomfort level, it raises the level of discomfort that you will experience. And that makes you want to avoid it. And the problem is when you avoid discomfort, you don't grow. So for example, and actually this came up with one of my other clients last week, where we were talking about why does she like to go for these big goals? Why does she put herself through this? Right? It makes her feel so uncomfortable. And what's great about her is she's willing to feel uncomfortable to achieve her goals. And I want to offer to you or ask you the question, are you willing to feel uncomfortable to achieve your goal? And if the answer is no, if there are reasons why you are not progressing to partnership or not progressing to the next level or not going for that opportunity, if you're not doing those things because it feels uncomfortable, you are afraid, you're scared of whether you can achieve it or not, and that the discomfort, you want to shy away from that, then this, my friend, is the third reason why you want to expand your capacity. Because what you're going to need in order to grow, in order to keep growing, to go to that next level, is you've got to be willing to feel uncomfortable at another level. Not be satisfied with the amount of discomfort that feels quote unquote comfortable right now. You need to expand your capacity to feel uncomfortable. If you're going for promotion, you need to be willing to feel more uncomfortable. So that's another way of thinking about the value of expanding your capacity. But in this context, expanding your capacity to feel a negative emotion, right? To feel that discomfort. And then the fourth reason, I've touched on this a little bit, but it's so that you can lawyer with ease. If you are struggling at this level, the level that you are at, then increasing your capacity where you are is going to make what you're doing right now, the level you are at, so much easier. Yeah, you're going to be able to be more efficient. You're going to be able to meet the challenges you have right now with less stress, less anxiety, with more calm, more ease. That's another fantastic reason. So lawyering with ease. All right, so I've given you 4 very compelling, important reasons to expand your capacity to do this work. So before I tell you how to do that, I want to just take you to the place. I want you to imagine you, the other side of doing this work, having implemented the process I'm going to teach you, how different your experience of work is going to be, how different you will feel. And by the way, it might be your experience of home being different too. Like it may be that you need to expand your capacity to hold, as in my case, my 4 children, be present for them, and always be showing up in my work. Like I want to expand my capacity to hold both of those things. But so let's look at what's waiting for you, the other side of implementing. I'm putting a real focus on that this week, implementing what I teach you. Number 1, think about the time you will save. One of the things I teach you inside Be the First, we talk about time control, which is the methodology I teach you for time management. And part of that is your self-concept, your relationship with time. Yeah, and one of the thoughts I have about myself and time, in which I offer you inside Be the First and help you to adopt similarly empowering thoughts. You get to choose which thoughts you want to adopt, but one of them that's really powerful for me is I create time. I have the self-belief that I create time. Think about it. If you can expand your capacity, so for example, by doing the same job in half the time, you just created 30 minutes of time in your day. Can you hear how that is true? Can you hear how powerful that is? So doing this work of expanding your capacity means you are going to be someone who can create time. You will have more time. Another way this might show up, for example, is, and actually we had this with one of my clients, is she has become really good at catching herself when she wants to go into perfectionism. So now she pulls herself back, yeah? And she won't let herself keep laboring a task now, trying to solve the problems by making things perfect. And because of that, she has significantly reduced, in many cases, the amount of time it takes her to complete a project, right? Or to get to a resolution. Massively decreased. And what she's done, and what I was showing her in the session this week, is what you've done is you've created time. Because that extra hour you would have spent, and sometimes it's longer than that, making things perfect, trying to do everything yourself, thinking, I have to control this, I have to make it perfect. This may sound familiar to you, right? All of that time you would have spent is now time you have available for something else. So think about the power of that. You can be the person who creates time. You can create time. That's so amazing. Think back to the version of you that thinks, oh, I wish there were more hours in the day. You don't need more hours in the day. You are someone who creates time. So expanding your capacity is like a physical, literal way in which you can do that and that become true. Isn't that amazing? Just think how powerful that is. Think about all of the things you don't feel you have time for right now. You wish you had time for right now. Be it personal, be it professional. If you have the skill of creating time because you can expand your capacity, then just think about how many of those things will then become the norm that you can include as part of your schedule. Just one of the other things that you manage to do. You'll be operating at that higher level, getting more done in less time, freeing up time to do other things. So powerful. Another thing that's waiting for you is the skill upgrade. I love this. So where a task that you previously, let's say it previously took you, not so much that it took you a long time, but more you struggled with it. So something you found really, really hard. Now, once you can expand your capacity, like one of the ways in which that works is you get better at that skill, okay? So for example, and I've written down an example of one, actually an example from me, recording this podcast used to take me hours. I used to, I'm going to confess, have to set aside a whole day to record this podcast. And what I'll say is it's not because I was, and you can probably guess this right, it's not because I spent the whole day like writing out the podcast or coming up with the ideas or recording it or setting up the equipment, although there was some time involved there. Not because of that, but because of all the spinning I would do and all the overthinking I would do and all the, oh, I don't know what I'm going to talk about, and oh, I don't know what does my voice sound like, and how's this going to come across, and is this valuable? These were the worries I had in the early days. Now, I give myself from start to finish 90 minutes for the podcast. That includes thinking time, it includes tech time, it includes recording time. Yeah? So what's happened is I've expanded my capacity to record this podcast every week, and have done that by being able to do the same task but with a much higher skill level. My thinking is sharper, my organization of how I structure the podcast is clearer, my comfort level, right, or my tolerance for the discomfort of recording the podcast, that's a better way to put it, is much higher. So now I don't spin out and, just because my brain says I don't really want to do it, I don't feel like it, that's never a reason why I don't do it. Okay, I've expanded my capacity. So now it takes me 90 minutes. Think about when it used to take me a whole day and where I am now compared to where I was. That sort of transformation is available to you when you can, when you expand your capacity by increasing your skill set. All right. So that's a really useful one as well. Ask yourself, what task are you doing right now that takes you a reasonable amount of time, or you have a lot of overthinking and drama about, which if you expand your capacity, you'll be able to do in less time with less drama. Think about what that will change for you. Okay? All right, so the third example of a result that you're going to experience when you learn how to expand your capacity is you're going to be much more willing to feel uncomfortable, much more willing to feel exposed or afraid when you're doing something new or going for an opportunity that, okay, you're not 100% qualified for, but you're close, but like be able to go for that opportunity and be afraid, right? Or feel uncomfortable. There's a risk of exposure, but be willing to feel that discomfort because you're going after your goal, because you know that opportunity has got your name all over it. If you are able to expand your capacity to feel discomfort, you are going to progress so quickly. My coach used to say to me, or still says to me, the more willing you are to experience discomfort, the faster you will grow. And that's so true, isn't it? If you can raise your discomfort tolerance, your level of the level of discomfort you're willing to experience, then just think about how quickly you will grow. You will get feedback. You will try more and more things. You won't spend all of that time worrying, overthinking. Okay? So an example of this for one of my clients was when we first started working together, she could not bring herself to delegate. She felt terrible, terrible cringe was the thing. That's her word. She found it really cringe having to invite people in to do work and then share the fact that she delegated bits of work, share that with the more senior partners, that this is what she was doing, showing, in other words, that she was able to manage projects and bringing other members of the team. She found it so cringe. She hated it and would just squirm, right, on camera. We coach by Zoom, right, so I can see her. She would just squirm, unable to bear, like the thought of it made her cringe so much. And so what we did was we worked on her capacity to experience cringe. When we started working together, she couldn't get past that the idea of experiencing it was too much. So we didn't delegate. But we increased her capacity to experience cringe, to feel the cringe. Now she just delegates without thinking about it. It's just such a pleasure to hear her talk about delegating now. And it's almost as if we imagined it, that whole episode where she just couldn't bear the idea of it, because now, because she was willing to feel the cringe, right, now it comes so easily to her. And she has now the self-concept that she is someone who's willing to feel uncomfortable. She can raise her discomfort levels for the next goal, for the next task, for the next skill that she wants to improve. All right, so 3 really key results waiting for you. And there's so many more as well, but I wanted to offer you those 3 by way of example. So the time you will save, the skills you will upgrade, and the discomfort that you will learn how to or be able to tolerate, that's going to make achieving your goal and pushing to the next level and all that growth so much more possible, and make it happen more quickly because you're willing to experience not being ready or not being perfect. Really important, really useful. Okay, so let's talk about what the process is. So what I have for you is a 4-step process, and I'm going to walk through it just very clearly and simply, and where explanation is required, I'll give you a little bit more detail. I think you're going to find this really helpful. These just 4 steps. If you make a note of these 4 steps and follow each one through, then you are going to notice your capacity. You're going to feel it expanding. You're going to be connecting more and more to your capability. All right, so I'm very excited for you to have this process. Are you ready? Okay. So number 1, this is the number 1. It's actually always the number 1, but it's very important in this work. Number 1 is that you raise your self-concept. In other words, how you think about yourself, the thoughts you say to yourself about you, you raise that to the level of you with your expanded capacity, to the new version of you, right? You operating at that higher level. So you're raising your self-concept to the level of someone who has the capacity that you want to have. So let's say you want the capacity to go to 3 networking events, for example, a week. You want to start thinking about yourself, thinking on purpose, choosing thoughts, right, that allow you to just inhabit that role, to try it on, like trying on a coat or something. You want to try on the thoughts of the person who has that capacity. So I'm going to share with you some examples of my self-concept when it comes to my capacity and growing my capacity and especially when it comes to time and being able to create time. So one of them is I create time. So I practice that thought. I revisit it all the time. I find evidence for it all the time. Every time I do something quicker and I'm like, I've saved 5 minutes, I'm like, there you go, I just created time. And this is how you raise your capacity, raise your self-concept. You choose a thought, you find evidence that you already have that it's true, and you keep working that thought and creating more and more evidence that it's true. So this is what I do with I create time. I'm reinforcing it all the time. And you can do this too. You can just pick a thought, right? And you can find, go and look for evidence in what you do and in your life that it's already true. And then work that thought, hold that thought front of mind, look for more evidence, and then go to work, approach your tasks, approach your day, and as if you were the person, with that thought front of mind. So when I sit in front of a task, let's say recording this podcast, right? And I sit down in front of it and I'm like, okay, normally it takes me 90 minutes, I've got an hour. And then what I think to myself is, well, I create time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it in an hour. I'm going to create that extra half an hour. Right? That's how I show up to my work from, with that self-concept. Other examples of thoughts you might want to choose or try on or practice, or variations of what I'm going to offer you by way of example, that you can practice to help you see yourself as the person with this increased, this expanded capacity. There's enough time for everything that matters to me. I always get it done. I am unstoppable. This is one of my favorite ones. I bend time. I also like that one. Time is my resource. This came from a client. I can do this. Came from a client. I am capable. I'm capable. Yeah, it's so simple. That's a very empowering thought. When you are facing a task and you're in the thick of self-doubt, I am capable. Yeah, the version of me with expanded capacity is capable. I can work through this. Every time I do it, I get better and better. It gets easier and easier. I can do hard things. I will figure it out. I can push through. Can you hear the quality of thinking that I have and that I hold, and I want to invite you to try on when you're expanding your capacity, okay? So, when you're doing step 1 of expanding your capacity, this is to raise your self-concept. And by the way, I don't need to worry too much about if you haven't been following me for very long and you're a little bit confused about what it means to raise your self-concept or choose your thought, or those thoughts sound really strange to you and you don't see how you could just adopt those. Don't worry. Inside Be the First, I teach you how to do this. This is important work that we do, where you get all of the depth and you get all of the understanding, you get all of the practice and you get all of the coaching. So this feels and starts to become really simple and automatic for you. So don't worry too much. I'm just giving you the process here. And then when you join Be the First, we work on it together. Okay? I coach you through any resistance you might be feeling. I coach you to find thoughts that empower you from inside of you. Yeah, so I take care of all of that. The second step is you want to have a very clear capacity goal. In other words, set your intention, make the commitment. So for example, I'm going to do X in Y amount of time. So I'm going to review this agreement in 2 hours, right? Whereas before it took me 3 hours, I'm going to do it in less time. That's one example of expanding your capacity. It's doing the same task in less time. Another goal you might have would be to, okay, I've got 10 things on my list and I'm looking at my day and thinking, how on earth, this happens to me a lot, by the way. And I teach when I'm teaching inside Be the First, I give the example of me recording 50 hours worth of training content, training videos, and having to do that in the space of a week, and from scratch, writing it, recording it, having all the tech, everything, doing all the videos, doing all of the workbooks as well, right? It was an insane amount I had to get done, and I looked at my calendar and I looked at the number of hours in a day and I looked at what I had to do, and I'm like, this is physically impossible, right? On the face of it. But I set myself that goal. I'm like, well, it has to be done. 50 hours of content, written, recorded, ready, done in the space of a week. Yeah, and I went to work. But the point is, I was very clear, I was very specific about what the capacity goal was, how I wanted, to expand. I wanted to get more done in less time. So you could choose that, or you could choose getting the, not more done, that was an example of me getting more done in a constrained amount of time. And it might be that you want to choose, which was my first example, getting the same task done in less time that it would otherwise take you. Yeah, two slightly different ones. So you want to make sure you're clear about what your goal is. Work on expanding your capacity in specific scenarios, okay? And then that way you can test this and see how it works. You can apply it and see how it works and keep applying it until you've got like a proof of concept, and then you can apply it in different areas as well. What I want to add is also how fun in, in the same way that being uncomfortable can be fun, but how fun it can be to give yourself a deliberate challenge. Yeah. To expand your capacity by challenging yourself to do more than you've ever done before. And my favorite example of this at the moment is how with this podcast, what I've done is I went from just recording the audio, and then at a certain point I thought, because I was recording audio and then separately I was recording video, and I thought, I wonder what if I did actually become the person who could record the podcast and video it at the same time. So it's taking me, like the recording time is usually between 40 and 50 minutes. What if instead of taking me 2 lots of 50 minutes, it just took me 1 lot of 50 minutes, because I'm recording the audio of the podcast and I'm recording the video at the same time? What if I could do that? And so that was a challenge I gave myself. And now every single week, it doesn't even occur to me. I'm doing the audio, I'm doing the video at the same time. And then what happened was I started thinking about lives and going live on social media. And I thought, wow, I wonder if, and again, this was like for fun, to see what was possible, to see what I was capable of, to expand my capacity to produce more and more value for you, or produce the same amount of value for you, but it be more valuable because now you can consume it in so many different ways. That's more valuable for you. If you can pick up the audio one day or the video another day, or go on the live and see the same thing, that's so valuable, right? Look how much I increased my value in less time. So I didn't have to do the podcast, audio of the podcast, and then a video for people who want to watch video, and then separately do a live for people who like to show up on social media live. I could do it all at once. So what could have been 3 hours now takes me 1 hour. I'm not doing this one live, by the way, for various reasons with my social media, but like I did this consistently, and now it's become a thing that previously I thought, oh no, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do it live. What if I mess up? And now it's just something I can do. I'm like, yep, is this part of my current strategy at the moment to do lives? Yep, right, okay, I'll do the podcast audio, the video, and the live at the same time, no problem. And by the way, I'll stream it to 3 or 4 channels at the same time. Think about how much time I have saved myself. Think about how I've proven to myself what I am capable of. Think about how I've expanded my capacity. Yeah, I used to think I could only record an audio of the podcast. Now I have the self-concept, and I know I can record an audio and a video and a live at the same time on 4 platforms. Amazing. And you can do this too. There's nothing special about the example I've just given you. You can do exactly the same thing. And I want to invite you. What are you currently doing at the moment that's taking you, 4 different tasks that are currently taking you 4 hours? How could you do 2 of those tasks at the same time? Like what would you have to do in order to be able to hit both of those, tick both of those boxes? That's a great question to ask yourself. So I wanted to add that when you're setting your capacity goal, I wanted to invite you also to challenge yourself and see how much capacity you could create. And be curious, I wonder if. Really challenge your current capacity, what you think or thought was possible for you now. Really challenge it with a stretch goal. All right, so the first step I talked about raising your self-concept. The second step I've talked about having a clear capacity goal. Now the third step, you're going to love this, it's feeling the resistance. You are going to experience some resistance. Like if you go to the gym, you lift weights, the weights create resistance. But when those weights create resistance, you don't just put the weights down. The whole point is to lift through the resistance, right? And to feel it. Feel the resistance. If you're using a resistance band, feel the resistance. And it's the same with capacity work, right? If you're extending your capacity, what's going to happen is as you get to the limit of what you currently feel is your capacity, you are going to experience resistance. Your brain is going to tell you, I don't want to, it's too hard, I'm too tired, I haven't got the bandwidth, I'm exhausted, what if I fail? Oh, I didn't get this done earlier in the day, now it's all out of my control and I can't do it and I failed. I don't have enough time. There are so many things that are going to come up for you as you cross that threshold, that capacity threshold where you're currently at. And what I want to offer as step number 3 is for you to feel it. How do you know you're feeling it? Is you stay with it and keep feeling that discomfort, instead of what we normally want to do when we feel uncomfortable, which is go back, right, to what we did before. It's the equivalent of trying to lift my weights in a push press above my head. And as soon as I feel resistance going, oh, no, I don't really feel like it and it's too hard, and just bringing the weights back down. Whereas actually, I want you to feel the resistance. So feel the discomfort. Don't try to hide from it, pull back from it. Be in it. So be in the fear, be in the discomfort, be in the boredom, be in the frustration, be in the tiredness. Even be in the, I've got no bandwidth left. Just be there. Instead of, oh, and therefore I need to pull back, and therefore I'm not going to do any more, or and therefore it's not possible. You've got to stay with the discomfort, my friend. You've got to feel the resistance. And then the 4th step in this 4-step process, once you've felt the resistance, it's to meet that resistance with capability. What do I mean by that? I already hinted at this when we talked about your self-concept at the beginning, so this ties it in really nicely. Meeting resistance with capability, all you need to do for that is have an imposter speech. So for those of you who are new to my imposter syndrome work, I teach you to create your own imposter speech. It's literally the pep talk you give yourself when something happens to trigger your imposter syndrome, make you question whether you're enough, whether you should be there, whether you know enough. Has you feeling discomfort? All you need is an imposter speech. And what the imposter speech does and why it works and is so powerful is it connects you to your capability, your full, your true capability. So what happens is this speech that you've created, and this is what I walk you through and help you create inside Confident Black Lawyers, you literally create your imposter speech. So when you have that speech, you say your speech, and that speech connects you because of how we create it and the process I take you through. It creates a hotline, a direct line to your feeling of enormous, infinite capability, to your true capability. So saying your speech connects you to that capability. And when you are connected to that capability, that is what can meet the resistance. Yeah. So the resistance might be, to give you the example, I can't do it, I might fail, it's too hard. As soon as you connect to your imposter speech, what you come back with, your capability, how you meet that resistance with capability, is you come back with the self-concept, the belief about yourself. I'm capable of anything I set my mind to. I know how to do hard things. I always figure it out. I can keep going. Yeah, I don't stop. I am a bullet train. I am unstoppable. Yeah. It's going to bring with it, your imposter speech is going to bring with it all of those empowering thoughts, right, that we explored in step 1 about raising your self-concept. It's going to bring those thoughts back with so much power, with a vengeance, because those thoughts are going to be connected to the truth of who you are. And that's what I do inside Confident Black Lawyers with you, is I connect you to the truth of how capable you are. It's so good. It's so powerful. So listen. I'm going to summarize those 4 steps for you. Remember at the beginning, I invited you to really think about, okay, how can I use what Caroline is teaching me today, implement it in my life right now, so I can start getting results right now, not as a nice to have, not as a thing to come back to. I'm reading a book at the moment. I'm actually rereading the book, and it's on marketing. I have to do a lot of marketing in my business, and it's a very action-focused, sort of heavy book. Do this, do that, and there's another page. It's like, right, now stop and do this, this, and this. And I can feel my brain doesn't want to stop and do all the things. I just want to read the book, and my brain keeps telling me, oh, I'll come back to it later. It's it's fine, I'll come back to it later and then I'll do all the things. You may have had this experience yourself before, right? And actually, this is what we do also when we consume the podcast or when we read a blog or a post, something really helpful. And maybe you're doing this at the moment with what I teach you. And so today I want to offer you to change all of that. I'm really talking right now in a lot of my messaging, in the emails I'm sending, in the podcast as well. Last week I talked about confidence now. And it really is me inviting you to engage with this work so that you get results now. Because every single day you're not implementing the training or the tools that are going to help you to progress or going to help you resolve or overcome a challenge. Every day you're not implementing it is a day you're experiencing that challenge or not getting the result for no reason. It's like another wasted day in a sense, right? Another day living with a challenge or a problem that you already have the tool to fix. All you have to do is do the work and get to work and implement. So that's why I'm really pushing you now to start seeing this work as urgent, because you being happier is urgent. You progressing is urgent. You feeling better and enjoying your job more is urgent. And it's that level of urgency I invite you to bring to this work. It's the most important work you can do because this is the work for you. Yeah, and this has priority over everything else. All right, so I hope you found that useful. I gave you the 4 steps, that 4-step process for expanding your capacity. Remember the self-concept work. Remember, be specific. Just tackle one goal at a time. It's going to build your confidence as someone who can expand your capacity. Feel the resistance, very important. And then finally, have your imposter speech. Join Confident Black Lawyers. I'm enrolling in Confident Black Lawyers at the moment. You can join at any time. I'll make sure the link is in the show notes. Join Confident Black Lawyers. Let's get your imposter speech created for you so you can go out and use it and have this working. Use it to expand your capacity for you right now. All right? And by the way, before I close, a reminder that you're not just going to have the benefits right now. I want to remind you of the long-term impact of doing this work. Number 1, you're always going to be able to raise your game. At any level, you'll always be able to say, I can do this better. And then expand your capacity to enable yourself to do it better. You're always going to be able to move up a level, whether that's move up a skill level, move up a progression level. If you have the skill of expanding your capacity, you're always going to be able to do the extra it takes to progress, for example. You're always going to be able to do the extra it takes to be at that higher level. So you'll always be able to move up a level and succeed there. I want to add that. And then finally, you're going to love this. You may love me or hate me for this one. You're not going to have any more excuses, right, for not achieving your goals or not progressing. Gone will be the excuse you don't have enough time. Gone will be the excuse that you don't have enough energy. Gone will be the excuse that it's too uncomfortable, you're too afraid. Why? Because now you know how to expand your capacity to create time, to create energy. That's the other thing you can create. And also expand your capacity to feel uncomfortable. So if you can do all of those things, you'll never be able to say, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough energy, and I don't want to feel uncomfortable. I can't face it, I'm too afraid. Because we just solve for all of that. All right, thank you so much for listening. It's always a pleasure. If you have any questions about expanding your capacity, why you want to do it, why it's so important, why it's so valuable, and those 4 steps that are going to help you do that, then send me a DM on social media. I'm Caroline Flanagan, at Caroline Flanagan, very easy to find. Or you can drop me an email too, caroline@carolineflanagan.com. Better to do it on social media though. I highly recommend that. You're likely to get a speedier response. Unless you're not on social media, in which case email is fine. All right, that's it from me. It has been a pleasure, as it always is. I hope you found this valuable. I hope you're going to implement it. And most importantly, I hope you're going to join Confident Black Lawyers. It's for lawyers, black lawyers at every stage of their career. Come in, let me help you build your imposter speech so you can use it. There's so many different applications for this incredible, powerful, empowering speech. Expanding your capacity is just the tip of the iceberg. All right, that's it from me. Have a beautiful week, my friends. I'll speak to you again next week. Bye for now.